What's up, YouTube? Zazubaar here. You know what? Hype is something that can either make or break a game franchise. Now, the Call of Duty franchise is no stranger to being overhyped and over-advertised. So the new game, Call of Duty Black Ops, is without a doubt going to be either loved or hated by those who have been awaiting its release. Now, it's no doubt that everyone's going to compare it to last year's unbelievable success of Modern Warfare 2. However, I'm going to try and look past comparing it to that game and all the hype that the game's had. So let's have an objective look at Call of Duty Black Ops. Is it the same old war, or has Treyarch given us a new war worth signing up for? Let's have a look and start out with the single-player campaign. Every Call of Duty game has had its own distinct era in which it takes place, and Black Ops is no different. The game takes place in the late 60s Vietnam and Cold War era. However, unlike other games in the series, you don't live the war on a battle-to-battle basis. Black Ops takes a unique way to tell its story, which has been a problem of the series since the franchise began. Horrible storytelling. Well, in Black Ops, you play as Alex Mason, a member of, you guessed it, the Black Ops division of the U.S. military, and his CIA handler, Hudson Johnson, who was obviously a member of the CIA. The plot points in most of the story takes place in flashbacks by Mason, as he's being interrogated by a guy who sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger from True Lies. Speaking of voices and sounds, the game's cast is surprisingly star-studded. Mason is voiced by Avatar star Sam Worthington. Hey, another Cameron movie. But let's leave Blue Smurfs out of this war. Anyway, there are also minor characters voiced by Gary Oldman from The Dark Knight, and Ice Cube, who's, well, Ice Cube. Anyway, the main plot is that Mason is being interrogated about some broadcast numbers, which Mr. Silhouette McScary voice says belong to a Soviet broadcast which will activate a biological weapon called Nova 6 that the commies will use to attack the US. Mason doesn't remember anything and has to relive his experiences in battle to try and figure out what the numbers mean and where they're being broadcast from. This little trip down memory lane also reveals Mason's vendetta to kill the head honcho of the Nova operation, whose hard-to-pronounce Russian name escapes me. All you have to know is that he's a bad guy and he needs to be pushing daisies. Anyway, this is probably the best Call of Duty story and single-player campaign. However, the main villains aren't given much time to become antagonists, and too much of the story is taken shoving you around from set piece to set piece, trying to keep the campaign brisk. And overall, the whole thing feels like a major James Bond ripoff with the biological weapons and a Russian guy whose only real motivation is to see the US go down. However, Mason's character and his plotline are definitely interesting enough to keep you interested for the 6 to 8 hours it takes to complete the campaign. Beat the campaign, and you unlock one of the coolest co-op modes I've ever seen. The zombie mode is something that was introduced in Call of Duty World at War, and is something that people expected to see in Black Ops. If you're one of those people and still want to stay up till the wee hours in the morning slaughtering the undead with period-appropriate weaponry, and god-awful puns by the guy who voiced Wolverine in the recent X-Men cartoon, you won't be disappointed in Black Ops. There are 3 maps included on the disc. Kino der Toten, which is a direct sequel to Der East from World at War. 5, which you unlock after beating the campaign, which is probably the coolest thing ever included in a Call of Duty game. It has you playing as frickin' President Kennedy, Prime Minister Castro, Nixon, and some other guy from the CIA. You defend the Pentagon from attack by zombies of unknown origin, and here's some of the worst puns in gaming history shouted by our lost beloved president. The third and final map is technically a mini-game in itself called Dead Ops. It has you going from map to map slaughtering zombies in a retro gaming style similar to the PSN games Zombie Apocalypse and Burn Zombie Burn. The controls are a little weird, having you shoot with the right analog stick and picking up what appear to be Lego pieces. But since it's just a fun little extra, it's nothing to complain about and is a great bonus. Now I know what you're all saying. No one gives a crap about the single player and zombies. What about the damn multiplayer? Well, okay, if you've been playing any of the 3 Call of Duty games that have had the trademark multiplayer of leveling up and unlocking weapons, then Black Ops is right up your alley. Although it's the same multiplayer that has had people skipping school and work for the past 3 years, there are some notable innovations. But to get the obvious stuff out of the way first, you start the game at level 1 with a pre-made set of classes for you to use and level up with. Once you reach level 4, you can make and customize your own classes with the weapons you unlocked. However, what's changed in Black Ops is that instead of completing challenges to unlock weapon attachments, call signs, kill streaks, and perks, You get COD points for completing tasks as well as XP. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, COD points. Very creative, Treyarch. Anyway, this new currency system is definitely a welcome change because it turns the game into less of a grind and makes it more about completing objectives rather than completing a lot of matches. You'll also level up much more quickly in order to unlock the weapons more quickly. This is because Black Ops allows you to customize your guns with the COD points you get. Customizing your gun is a big part of what gives Black Ops its unique feel. For example, you can put your clan tag on your gun, which will be sloppily etched into the butt of the gun. Extremely badass. You can also put camo on your gun, but this is mainly for shits and giggles because even if you pick the perfect color for each map, that lousy red name tag is still hovering over your character, which in my opinion is something that the series has to abandon. It would make things like camo and customization much more useful in matches rather than just for shits and giggles. However, overall, the new customization features make the game feel more rewarding when you unlock new weapons to customize and make enough dough to make it your own. And again, it makes the game much more about skill rather than a grind, a much welcome change. The maps in Black Ops are like most games in the series, masterfully crafted and have their own tactical ploys that players who play frequently will be able to take advantage of, like finding that perfect alleyway to take out lots of respawning noobs or that perfect sniping perch to oversee all the chaos. Also, like other games in the series, there is a map that's bound to become infamous. Enter Nuketown. Based on 50s nuclear test sites that are fake towns inhabited by mannequins, Nuketown is a very unique map. That even though I know a lot of people hate how small it is, that's what I like about it. It makes the gameplay much more fast-paced and keeps you on your toes in modes like Domination and Demolition. The mannequins can also fake you out because there are so many that are like burnt, which I swear is a camoed 6-year-old who doesn't know which team he's on. Anyway, so the maps in Black Ops are overall great and are truly what makes the game fresh every time you turn on your PS3 or Xbox, and keeps you coming back for more. That and the customizable red dot sight, but it's probably the maps. But a red smiley face across a Spetsnaz soldier and a slow-mo kill cam are still extremely badass. Okay, so let's talk about the gameplay and overall presentation. Now, reviewing the gameplay in a Call of Duty game is pretty much redundant because it's almost identical in every console game. It's a tightly crafted first-person shooter that isn't entirely realistic in terms of aiming down the sights. What I mean is when you aim down the sight, you automatically snap to a target, and as long as where you're shooting is in the general vicinity, he's going down like a bag of cow shit. In multiplayer, this can get pretty annoying when you're clearly behind cover, and a 6-year-old who randomly fired his SMG gets the same winning kill. Sure, it makes the game more fast-paced, but for vets who've been enlisted in Activision's army for years, you may start to see how annoying it is. But you can turn it off, but I doubt you'll even know where the option is. Also, shooting from the hip is about as useful as a crotch gun, and it's nearly impossible to hit the target you want without wasting about 2 clips trying to do it. However, like I said, aiming down the sights is obviously the given way to take someone down. Vehicles are also a big part of the campaign. Controlling them is relatively easy since your control over them is usually limited to dodging, turning, and shooting down the invisible wall-filled area. But unlike Treyarch's Call of Duty World at War, there's no tanks in multiplayer along with other vehicles, which is fine since you still have control over most of the kill streaks, like the already hated RCXD. Overall, gameplay is still the Call of Duty we all know and love, tight, responsive, and mostly realistic. The guns are all fun to use, and slaughtering foreign soldiers and your closest friends is still quite a blast. So if you're not a big FPS enthusiast, or you are, you'll be satisfied by Black Ops gameplay and overall control, which has been a part of the series ever since it began all the way back in 2003. Now back in 2007, when the first Modern Warfare was released, Infinity Ward's engine was extremely impressive and had most first-person shooters of the time looking like they were made on paint. However, it's 3 years later, and most game engines tend to show their age. Thankfully, Black Ops doesn't. The game still looks gorgeous. The environments are all unique and detailed, even though 4 snow maps is kind of pushing it. The character models are all exquisite, and the motion capture tech that is used gives the game a realistic and smooth look. Also, as I said, the star-studded cast gives the game a much-needed believability and character attachment, which really is first for the series. Sam Worthington most notably sticks out with his slow descent into insanity, and the glorious facts that Mason is probably the only character in the game who doesn't ear rape you with god-awful puns, which is pretty shocking. Overall, Black Ops' presentation is very impressive, and it'll probably make more people want to play the campaign and appreciate more than just the blood spurts that are shown in multiplayer, which are still very cool. Okay, so the big moment, summary and score. Call of Duty Black Ops is nothing short of a gaming masterpiece. Few games give you so much for $60, and there are just so many reasons why I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. But this review is starting to get a little long in the tooth. Just trust me, the game is worth every dime you'll spend on it. Black Ops is one of the few games these days that will give you what you deserve. Your money's worth. So mow the lawn, rob a bank, or steal a third grader's lunch money to pay for Call of Duty Black Ops. A true masterpiece of gaming. Well, that's all I have to say. Shout out to my friends who are probably not watching this because they're playing Black Ops. You know who you are. But thanks for watching anyway. Zazubaar out.